All right, it's another episode of the RSL Random Fan Podcast. I'm a host, Brent Goebel, joined by Tyler and Brennan, and we have a special guest today, Caleb Turner from the almighty KSL, sports juggernaut that is KSL. And that's I was trying to figure out how am I going to make this awkward and a weird intro like I do every time, and mission accomplished. But Caleb, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I don't think that was awkward at all. You called us almighty. I'll take that any day.
Nice. So we thank you for joining us. I remember what I was going to say. You are like the leader in the press room, the guy that everybody goes to, the man that starts it off every post game press conference. So we're happy to have you and excited to have you, and we looking forward to getting to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, you guys as well. Yeah, I mean, I know Brant and Tyler a little bit from games and stuff. Brandon maybe not as much, but yeah, looking forward to see what the vibe of this of the random fan is.
Oh, it's crazy. It's just crazy time now.
So crazy.
So Caleb, I always like to ask people, are you a soccer fan?
I am. I am indeed. Unfortunately, not unfortunately at all. It makes my job a lot easier that I enjoy going to games and I enjoy watching games. My top two favorite sports are basketball and soccer. So when I got the offer to cover one of those two sports, almost exactly 3 years ago now, with RSL, it was an easy yes. Yep, I am a fan.
Do you have any clubs that you follow besides Real Salt Lake?
You're all gonna love this one. It's kind of predictable. I feel like at this point, Tottenham. They're for whatever reason there's just a lot of them around here.
Oh my god, man! Nobody
And
says that. Nobody says Tottenham. Like what?
you'd be surprised. Have you met Jake Hatch? He's also a Tottenham fan.
Really?
Yeah,
Holy cow! How did you fall down that? Like, how did that happen?
it was Clint Dempsey's fault.
Oh, the American
Yeah.
tie.
Goose.
Yeah. So that's actually I know you mentioned kind of like take us through a little bit of like my soccer journey, my soccer fandom journey or whatever. And that was kind of when it started. I had a history with soccer. I played as a kid. I had a crazy, like, lucky opportunity to go to the 2002 World Cup when I was 7 years old. I did not appreciate it like I should have. I mean, I was a 7-year-old, so I don't know if any
Shame on you.
7-year-old appreciates that. In fact, my claim to fame is that I faked being sick to leave one of the games because I was bored, and here we are 20 years later. And then after that, my first like professional soccer games that I attended were RSL. I didn't grow up in Utah, but my parents are both from here. So when we would come back during the summers, the only team that was playing in the summer was RSL. So we would go to a couple games here and there. Followed, Kyle Beckerman, Javi Morales, all the greats. And then, yeah, around I think it was 2011 or 2012 when Clint Dempsey had his brief stint with Tottenham, and I was like, "Why?" I heard that they were a pretty big club, and at that same exact time, they had Gareth Bale. I mean, Gareth Bale is a really, really fun player to watch. Unfortunately, he left the next year to Real Madrid, so that was a little short-lived. But that's kind of the team that I've followed ever since then.
Yeah, Gareth had to leave to go golf more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good
My
golfer
wife
though.
is-
Holy cow!
My
Yeah.
wife is a Tottenham fan. If that makes you feel better.
It does a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
She liked them because they're all good looking.
that didn't hurt. That didn't hurt. And Gareth Bell was playing when she decided to like him. So she says it was the way that what's her name on Premier League that does the Premier League mornings,
Yeah.
Rebecca Lowe.
Yeah.
She said she just liked the way she said Tottenham Hotspur, and so she decided she needed a club, and she picked Tottenham a couple years ago.
There you go.
But I did see a thing. I should have added it on, but I think it was on Instagram or one of the social media and they had an interview and they were talking to somebody and they were talking about Tottenham being the most efficient club for the Premier League. They make money. They just do it all right, except for win trophies because that way they don't have to pay out bonuses. But
Was that why?
Yeah, they haven't won a
That's what
trophy in a
they said.
long time,
Yeah.
right?
What it was fascinating is they are probably the most sound financial club in the Premier League. Just down there trying to they are one spot ahead of Manchester United, aren't they, right now?
And we're probably going to match up in the Europa League final. So yeah,
Gotta have
Crazy.
something to root for.
Exactly.
Brendan's a Man U fan. Tyler's an Arsenal fan, and my Premier League team hasn't made it there yet. We're going the wrong direction. So
Can't think it's always a Premier League team. Come on now.
they just haven't made it yet.
Yeah.
They can say that every year. Just haven't made it yet.
But
It's
I'm a
always
fan of not
possible.
giving up. So Tottenham, we've given you enough grief for that. But what about how did you get into your job? How did broadcasting or writing about sports become your job?
Yeah, good question. I think honestly, this sounds kind of dumb, but it all started with Twitter. When I was in high school, I had a bunch of friends, and we all basically instead of like texting each other during a game, we would um, talk on Twitter. Like we would at each other on Twitter, and we would like live tweet San Antonio Spurs games. So I'm from San Antonio. And it's like the only big team in town is the Spurs. And when I was in high school, 2012, 2013, 2014, they were making really deep runs in the playoffs, making the finals. So it was really easy to cheer for them. And so I started to kind of like, I mean, when you're tweeting about a sport, you have to kind of figure out the right way. I mean, especially when it was limited to whatever it was, 140 characters, you had to figure out kind of concise ways to talk about the team, to do updates, to give your opinion on whatever was happening, right? And so when I'd always enjoyed writing, and then kind of when I connected the dots between writing and then enjoying sports, and that there could be a connection there, I realized, oh, like sports writing, sports journalism, there's actually like you can get paid for that kind of stuff. So I came out to BYU in 2013, already knowing that I wanted to study journalism, and did it, majored in communications, and wrote for the student paper at BYU, the Daily Universe, covering BYU sports for several years. And my former boss from that student paper later worked at KSL, and he hired me to come work at KSL. So that's kind of how I ended up where I am now.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, what inspired you to kind of pick up the RSL bandwagon? You said you liked soccer, but kind of basketball and soccer both.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think kind of like I mentioned, when we would come back in the summers with my family, the Jazz weren't playing at that time. Like we would be here in June, July, August, which is the exact off season for basketball. Um, and so, if we wanted to go to a live sporting event, it usually ended up being an RSL game. And they're really fun. I mean, there's a reason you're RSL fans. Like they're really fun games to go to. Especially when it's like warm outside, everyone's just kind of hanging out. You walk up together, you do the parade, the walk up, everyone's just kind of on their feet the whole game, waving flags and having a good time. And it helped the RSL was pretty good during that period too. Like I didn't really go to games during like the 05 to 07 stretch. I kind of caught on a little later, like 08, 09, and then 10. And it was also kind of when soccer was becoming more accessible to watch, I feel like. More games were on ESPN, and then on MLSsoccer.com, you could like watch games pretty easily, I remember. So on like Saturday and Sunday nights, I would just go in my parents, like in our study at my childhood home, and just like pull up MLSsoccer.com and just like watch games on their website. Because it was just like nobody else in my family really liked sports that much. And I enjoyed it. And so yeah, I think that's kind of where the soccer stuff happened. But honestly, like I think if I had to rank those two sports that I like the most, I think basketball would be my favorite. So I kind of had always had this dream of maybe covering an NBA team at some point. Obviously, being a big Spurs fan, wanted to do that at some point. So by no means was like the opportunity to do RSL like a consolation prize or anything like that. But I had always kind of known that I wanted to cover either like a team professionally, and the fact that that I was able to do it with soccer was a pretty easy yes.
Awesome. Now, what are your thoughts on journalism, sports journalism at the moment? Because uh, I I'm old. I'm like we talked about before. I'm really old, and I would buy a paper before work, and even being a construction worker, and that's what I loved to do at lunchtime was read the paper. And you just can't. I guess you can if you want to, but it's really hard to have that experience anymore. Even though. So, what are your thoughts on the direction of journalism? And journalism in sports.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I feel like I mean, you're definitely right. There's not really newspapers anymore. You can't just nobody really opens up a newspaper anymore. But I think the equivalent to that is like waking up in the morning and going to whatever your preferred news website is, and it's kind of a similar layout, right? You have the the top headline story. You've got kind of a couple in the underneath there, and if you want to go deeper into certain sections, I want to skip to the sports page. Okay, you go up to the tab and you click on the sports tab, right? So that's kind of how I think about, especially where I work, KSL.com. It's essentially like an online newspaper. It's all local news. It's all written. I mean, we have video in there every once in a while that, since we're affiliated with the TV station. But as far as like written journalism goes, it's moved from newspapers to websites. And it's certainly changed a lot. I mean, as far as how people kind of find out about you as a journalist, social media obviously playing a huge role, and also the fact that kind of anybody can be a journalist. If you're at the game, you have your phone, you can record a video of whatever happens. Let's say you record a fight that breaks out of the RSL San Diego match. Just a crazy example, right? You could record that, and all of a sudden, oh, you've got, several thousand views on your video, and you're just as credible as any journalist because you were there. And so I think it's changed a whole bunch, and you have to kind of manage all the different avenues in which people prefer to get their news, I guess. I mean, obviously a big one now is like TikTok. I have a TikTok, but I'm not like super, I don't post, RSL stories on there. I mostly just do it for fun. So I think there's different kind of ways where you can adapt and go to people where they are. And luckily for right now, we have enough readers that go to KSL.com that they're able to pay me. So I'm happy about that.
That's nice, getting paid for doing stuff like this. So
Yeah, we would love for that to happen to us too. Yeah, so if you got any openings,
Look,
man, that'd be great.
it would be. But we are amateurs. We're rank amateurs, and we admit
Hey,
that.
he just said anybody could, as long as they got a phone. I mean, it's amateur it up.
As soon as Crawley Town makes it to the Premier League, you guys are going to get paid for this. I know it.
Let's go Reds. Let's go Reds.
The Red
Oh,
Devils,
man.
the original Red Devils, yeah. So, you have any favorite opportunities or stories or experiences covering Real Salt Lake? Do they haul you off to away games all the time? You get to fly in the private jet. You look like you kind of like you're in that stratosphere.
Literally, right? Yeah, I'm in the private jet stratosphere.
Yes.
No, definitely not. I got to ride on the team plane once. And it was it was
Did you
to
misbehave or something?
I hope not. But it was because it was an Open Cup match against the Las Vegas Lights. Like nobody wanted to go. Like they were trying to get their own employees to want to go. And I don't think they really wanted to. So they were like, "Hey, we've got an opening on the flight, so you can go." And I sat like on the back row, across the aisle from Elliot Fall, who was just sleeping the entire match. He literally just like sat like just laid down across the open row and just slept the entire flight. Which I get it. If you're a soccer GM, you're taking calls from Europe at 2 a.m. or whatever. I'm sure it's a tiring job.
Like, where's the exclusivity there? You were gonna get the interview and then nothing, right? Come on.
I know, tough. As far as other away games go, it's kind of been actually, I don't think I've attended an away game the RSL has won yet. It's mostly been playoffs. So as you guys well know, the last 3 years, first round exits for RSL. And then the one non-playoff game that I went to was the opener last year against Miami. And that was also not a win. But I would say that was definitely the coolest experience I've had because I got to go like by the Miami bus when they arrived, and kind of like the little, sometimes kids line up there to give high fives to players, and Messi walks off the bus, and the guy who was standing right next to me had an Argentina jersey that he was trying to give to Messi, and he actually got him to come over, gave him the jersey. So I was like, I was right next to Messi. He was just right in front of me.
You didn't kiss him? You didn't kiss him at all?
I did not.
Bodyguard getting away? Bodyguard
No, there was no bodyguard because it was just like it was the team bus. So like they were all coming off the bus at the same time. So he was just with teammates, like it was just like him and Suarez or whatever, just hanging out. And he had his mate cup, I think, sipping on the yerba. So, but that's probably got to be one of the coolest experiences I've had. That, and then also I mentioned Gareth Bale. And he, in his last year when he played for LAFC, he came to Sandy, and I got to do the same thing, like be by the bus when he got off, and so I got to kind of get an up close video of Gareth Bale.
How did they smell? Did they smell good?
I don't remember. I don't think definitely didn't get close enough to Gareth Bale, and I think when Messi came over, I was like holding my breath, so I didn't get to inhale when
Oh
I
yeah, that's true. Happens to the best of us, man.
Yeah.
Fair, fair.
Well, I am curious. What is the team flight like? I mean, is it anything special? Is it just a charter plane?
Is there
or
like a bingo competition that happens on there, or like what's happening on there?
No, it was super chill, super quiet.
Really?
Like, but that was kind of a unique situation though, because number one, it was Open Cup, so like not the whole team was there. And then second of all, it's a flight to Vegas. That flight's like 45 minutes long. So not a whole lot going on in a 45-minute flight. You literally take off and then you land.
So you didn't get to mingle. You just stayed and watched Elliot fall asleep.
because they told me to go to the back of the plane where like
Racism.
so.
Those dicks.
This is not a political podcast, I've been told. So.
I'm Brennan.
Oh yeah, because I'm the one who talks about politics on here, huh? That's me. I'm all about politics.
But no, unfortunately, I did not get any inside scoops. Unfortunately, I wish I had. I think, yeah, it was a cool experience though. It was a normal flight. I think it was like a Southwest airplane that they had just like converted into some other. I can't remember the name of the charter company they use, but just like super normal, like just commercial flight with like 3 seats on each side. No no screens, no nothing, like bare bones. So.
Well, Caleb, I had a couple questions. I mean, since we got you, so how do you get in the good graces of all those nice people at the RSL front office? We seem to keep ending up on the bad side of all the No, I'm just kind of joking, but you seem to get along with everybody, and I really like that about you. You seem like a really genuine and kind guy. But like, how does that translate into like that journalistic like vibe there? Is that even a good question? That's probably the worst question I've ever asked a guest. I apologize, Caleb.
No, I mean, you might have just answered it yourself, like by being nice and genuine.
I did say that we were amateurs at this, so thanks, Tyler.
But you're also genuine and nice people, so it's fine. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only thing that comes to mind is just like showing up to things, which I know which you guys do. I've seen you guys at a bunch of stuff. I know a big one for a lot of people is like showing up to trainings instead of like just showing up to games. Kind of the in between stuff here and there, just to show that you care, right? But it's definitely a process, and like I'm kind of like in a unique spot right now because I have had this really cool opportunity to cover the team for the last 3 years, and I've been able to kind of build up those relationships with people that work for the team. And it's to the point where I'm like, if for whatever reason I had to switch my assignment, like let's say I'm, suddenly covering BYU or I'm covering hockey or whatever it might be, I'd have to start from scratch, and like it is a process to have to do. I remember the first year I covered RSL, the guy who was kind of in my position starting off every press conference was Tom Hackett. And I was like, second or third row all the time, just kind of like hanging out, just like writing my stories, not doing much else. But as time kind of goes on, obviously he left. And so like new opportunities kind of pop up, I guess. And as long as you're just there, like they'll just take whoever's in the room, right? And if you're there, you end up in some good situations.
Just keep showing up, kids.
Just keep showing up. That's a great motto. I love it.
So what we learned from Caleb tonight, right?
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Showing up half the battle.
Yeah, it's true.
And being nice is the other half.
Yeah, 50%. We're covered by 50%.
So if you had like a player or like a front office person that you just like got along with really well, that you just kind of became your like favorite person.
I mean, I think one thing that's been really nice about Trey is that he's a big basketball fan too. So we bonded over that. He's a huge Nuggets fan. So we talk, NBA, Nuggets, Spurs, all that fun stuff all the time. We had a back and forth on Twitter a couple weeks ago because he ended one of the Zoom press conferences by saying something mean about James Harden. And I was like, oh, he must be on your list of like most hated players because he's always telling me about all the players that he hates. So it's like kind of shared interests, stuff like that. Other people, I mean, That's a good question. I feel like one cool thing is my time here is matched up almost exactly with Diego Luna's time. So I got hired in April of 2022, and I think he got signed. It was either May or June of 2022. So like just really soon after. And I got to interview him pretty early on. I'd like run into him at like Target and stuff randomly. So it's just like weird stuff like that where you're like, oh yeah, cool. Like, you know, we live in the same city and we happen to go to the same Target. So that was he was looking for a video game, I think. So I guess Diego Luna's a video game guy. In case you guys are wondering, he was in the video game section, and so that he's definitely a pretty fun one. But it can be tough too, because after I'm sure you guys know this well with how many times this team has lost this year, they're way less kind of willing to talk and a little harder to get answers out of after a loss. And I've definitely found that, especially with some of the younger players that don't have the experience or kind of the maturity to come up and answer tougher questions when the team isn't doing very well. And it can be a really kind of tough line to toe where you want to do your job and you want to get, the good answer, but you also don't want to push too hard to the point where the coach or the player thinks that you're being rude or doesn't want to answer your questions anymore or whatever it might be. So you kind of have to, there's a bit of a balancing act and like some, I don't know what the right word is, maybe like tact or whatever, but just trying to not push the boundaries too much, but at the same time trying to get a good story out of it, which I will admit I'm certainly not the best at. I'm sure there's times where I could have gotten a better story out of certain situations, and I tend to lean a little more reserved, a little more not necessarily timid, but I'm somewhat of a pacifist, one might say. So I'm not going to get in there into the nitty gritty all the time.
You're not
Which
a button pusher.
not exactly, which maybe means I'm not a good journalist. I don't know. But there's something of a balance there, I guess.
Yeah, it's also the market too, and some other Salt Lake's a little more reserved, and that doesn't mean it has to be that way forever. But I remember we've had the opportunity the last couple of seasons to participate in the post game, and the most recent one that I can think of that was really fascinating was uh, the loss and Catranis
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
when Alex Catranis came in and just laid the law down and was brutally honest about things. So you probably weren't there for the fire up the printer tray, but
I've heard about it.
yeah. But what about any thoughts on those experiences? There's any like that before Catranis that you can remember?
That's a good question. I remember thinking in that moment that it was unique. I had never seen anything quite like that. Man, there were a couple times with Aaron Herrera, where he was not afraid to speak his mind. There was one time after a loss that he kind of got after the team for not playing very well, and then after in one of the season exit interviews, I think it was when they lost in Austin, like 2.5, 3 years ago, and he said that he was sick of RSL being the underdog. He's like, I don't want to have to be a dog. I don't want to have to grit and grind like you guys keep saying. We want to be favorites in one of these series for once. I thought that was kind of unique to kind of call out like the identity and like a bit of the culture of the team like that. To be honest, I kind of felt like he was right though, because it is, you never want to have to be constantly going uphill, fighting uphill, right? But then you look at, like last year, RSL does end up with a top 3 seed, or top 4, whatever it ended up being, and so they're theoretically the favorite, and it doesn't work out anyway. So
There was a lot of stuff going on at
there
the end
was.
of last season.
Oh yes, there was.
Last season too. But yeah, I remember that, and I agree. I appreciate what Aaron said about the club because they, always being the underdog, that just means that you're not getting what you need. You're not getting the players you need, and the team's not investing, so you kind of have to do more. But you can still be
At
scrappy
least
and
two.
have the best players in the world on your club too. I mean, well, let's we know you don't have a lot of time, but what are your thoughts on the current situation with the club that without ruining any relationships with the club.
It's time to
Uh,
burn some bridges.
let's
Do it.
burn it down.
No. What are my current thoughts on the club? They're not winning a lot of games, which is not where you want to be. You don't want to lose seven of your first 11 games. it is interesting to me that they haven't tied a game yet this year. So it's kind of either like it's a good night or a bad night. There's not really much in between for this team, which is probably a good, accurate characteristic of a very young team, which we've been kind of told over and over again, like this is one of the youngest teams in the league, which like it quite literally is. You look at, Gozo, this 18-year-old kid, several games in a row. That's going to bring down your average age quite a bit. So there's a lot of youth, a lot of mistakes happening, a lot of missed shots. I think that's been really kind of, especially in there were a couple games where there were several like point blank missed shots in a row that were just really, really hard to get over. I think it was the one game where Diogo and Ari both kind of missed sitters right in a row. So I think the Diogo Gonçalves situation is really tough. With him being a designated player, theoretically this big investment from that Andreas Gomez deal, and just not putting out basically any production when it comes to goals and assists. You can't really have that from one of your highest paid players. But I think on the flip side of that, you're kind of seeing this, one might even say overachieving from Diego Luna. 6 goals already on the season, 5 more than anybody else on the team at only 21 years old. And I guess if I had to bring one hot take to this show, it's that I would not be surprised if when RSL resumes MLS play after Nations League, if Diego Luna is not on this team.
Inside source, you want to reveal there? Or?
No sources, observation only.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was just gonna say, hey, there are 4 teams in the West that have scored fewer goals this year. Can you guess? Let's see if we can guess them.
Oh, that's a good question. KC.
Kansas City scored 17 goals so far this year. We only have 12.
We scored less than Kansas City.
I don't know who they are. Oh, Galaxy.
St. Louis and Galaxy, and Austin has the fewest at 7, and Houston only has 10.
I saw that Austin had 7, and they're like in 4th place or something.
Crazy.
Because they've just strategically given them up. They have 5 wins.
Well, I saw that Chicho has 7 goals this season.
Geez.
And Brian White has 11.
Every time Chicho scores a goal and a devil gets its wings, I don't know, dude. Something like that.
There you go.
It has to be something like that. I don't know what it is, but I think Chicho's the devil lately. Every time I see him score, I'm just like, oh, you should be here doing that. Oh.
Do you think the masseuse, there's a specific masseuse that they had to hire to bring to San Jose? Or was that part of his contract to sign him over?
Yeah. What do you say, Tyler?
We can edit this out, right? We're going to edit this out.
Against do you think we have?
No comment.
Goals against. We've given up. Who has more goals against? You were right with KC, Caleb. KC has given up more goals.
So is RSL like bottom 5 again, or what's the
6th? Yeah.
Okay.
So we got 5 teams giving up more goals.
Are there some like repeats in there? So like Galaxy.
Yeah.
Who was the other one you
Kansas
mentioned in
City.
there? San Jose? No, not San Jose. Oh, San Jose.
Dallas and Portland.
Oh, that Dallas one could come in handy.
Right. Yeah, they got. So I don't know how we do that. We lose 1-0 to Dallas. We go to San Diego and win, and then those 2 teams play each other, and Dallas gets totally humbled 5-0. Like, how does that happen? Like, it's just MLS, right? Any given week.
I actually think that this is the most competitive I've seen MLS in possibly ever. I mean, as far as parity across several teams, I think this is probably the best we've seen.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You have the best player in the world, and they still struggle. I mean, they might turn it around and play well, but I think it's really interesting in the fact that you can come over here. It's not a retirement league anymore, and you have to play good soccer. And there are scrappy teams that are winning games against Miami, and they got knocked out. Vancouver just kind of took it to them in the Champions Cup, and so Vancouver and Cruz Azul get to play June 1st, I think, for the final.
There you go.
They're good.
So, any other thoughts? I know how much time you have left.
Yeah, I probably got to head out here soon. But appreciate you guys having me on, and we'll, certainly be talking more at the upcoming games. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll say goodnight. Bye for now. We'll see you at the game.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you guys.
See you.
Don't hang up yet.
Oh, yeah.